What if the demon known as Astaroth wasn't always a demon? What if, long before the rituals and grimoires, before the whispering invocations and warnings etched in medieval texts, Astaroth had another name, a sacred name, a name once spoken not in fear, but in worship? Throughout history, empires have risen and fallen, gods have been crowned and cast down, but buried beneath layers of theology, conquest, and cultural rewriting lies a figure whose story defies easy definition, a being who moves between identities, demon, angel, goddess, depending on who tells the tale. Astaroth, often described as a duke of hell, a master of forbidden knowledge, and a harbinger of sloth and despair, may be more than the sum of these parts. His image, winged, crowned, riding a serpent-like beast, is iconic in the world of demonology. Yet these symbols may not reveal the truth. They may be disguises, meant to obscure something far older, something divine. In this episode of Abyssal Narratives, we trace Astaroth's origin back through time, through temples lost to sand, through ancient rites that were forbidden and forgotten, through scriptures that condemned him, and legends that tried to bury her. Because perhaps, just perhaps, the demon we now fear was once a goddess revered. Perhaps Astaroth is not a monster, but a memory. This is not just the story of a demon. This is the story of how history transforms gods into devils, and how the shadows we fear may only exist because someone wanted to keep the truth hidden. So stay close. The deeper we go, the more the past begins to stir. And the whispers, they're getting louder. The divine origin, Astarte, the goddess erased. Long before the name Astaroth was etched into the grimoires of demonologists and whispered in candle-lit rituals, she walked in temples under a different name, Astarte. She was worshipped by the Phoenicians, the Canaanites, and many other Semitic cultures across the Near East. Her roots go even deeper, reaching into the mythologies of Inanna and Ishtar, two goddesses of love, war, fertility, and sovereignty in Sumerian and Akkadian belief systems. These weren't soft, passive goddesses. They were raw, powerful, and terrifyingly independent. Astarte was worshipped in sacred rituals, often through sensual or violent rites. Her duality, as nurturer and destroyer, made her the embodiment of life itself. She held sway over kings and cities. She was prayed to before wars and during childbirth. She was not just divine, she was essential, but monotheism had no room for her. As early Judaic traditions rose, the powerful female deity became problematic. Her sensual nature, her independent divinity, all clashed with the new, singular masculine conception of God. Slowly, insidiously, her name was recast. In the Tanakh, she appears as Ashtoreth, not as a goddess, but a foreign idol. Her worship condemned, her statues destroyed, her temples silenced. And over time, she was not just forgotten, she was corrupted, rewritten. She became Astaroth, no longer a goddess, but a demon. Demon of knowledge, Astaroth in the occult tradition. As the ancient world faded and the divine feminine was slowly extinguished from mainstream religion, Astaroth did not vanish. Instead, he transformed. Not into silence, but into something darker, more cryptic, and far more dangerous. During the medieval and Renaissance eras, when Europe was gripped by both religious fervor and a growing obsession with the occult, Astaroth reappeared, this time not as a goddess, but as a demon. And not just any demon, but a powerful Duke of Hell, seated high in the infernal hierarchy. His name emerged in some of the most influential grimoires of the time, texts whispered about in secrecy, copied in candlelight by alchemists, sorcerers, and heretics alike. Books like the Lesser Key of Solomon, the Book of Abramelin, and Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonum painted a striking picture of this reimagined figure. Gone was the imagery of temples and fertility idols. In its place stood a fearsome nobleman, draped in regal yet ominous garments, riding a monstrous dragon-like beast, its scales slick like oil, its breath heavy with sulfur. His wings, still feathered, hinted at a divine origin now twisted by fire and exile. In one hand, he held a serpent or viper, not as a threat, but as a symbol of the ancient wisdom he carried. and the danger it presented. But Astaroth's power wasn't in brute strength. He didn't command legions through terror alone. His true weapon was knowledge. He is said to speak softly, a calm, articulate voice filled with gravity, not rage. Those who claimed to summon him did not describe screams or torment, but instead conversations, insightful, seductive, dangerous. He offered truths that others feared to know, secrets of the heavens, the earth, and the soul. Mathematics, astronomy, alchemy, philosophy, ancient languages, forbidden histories, even prophecies. Astaroth was believed to possess the power to unveil not just the present, but the past and the future. Some even believed he could clarify paradoxes, reveal the hidden architecture of creation, and expose divine deceptions embedded in religious doctrine. But knowledge in his presence comes at a steep price. The texts warn that his breath is fatally poisonous, so vile that it induces physical agony, even death. Not merely a literal miasma, but a symbolic one. The toxicity of revelation. The stench of truths we were never meant to bear. A conjurer must wear a specific magical ring inscribed with protective sigils, or risk being consumed by the very thing they sought to understand. This idea that Astaroth's knowledge harms is not about punishment, but about transformation. Because true understanding changes you. Once you know, you can't go back. Once you see, you can't unsee. To summon Astaroth, then, is not just to speak with a demon. It is to stand at the edge of human potential and look into the abyss of forbidden knowledge. The kind of knowledge that unsettles foundations, that shatters certainty, that breaks the mind and rebuilds it differently. And yet, people did summon him, not out of evil, but desperation. In an age where religious dogma suffocated inquiry, and to ask the wrong question could cost you your life, figures like Astaroth became secret patrons of the curious, a heretic's ally, a scholar's last resort, a symbol of dangerous enlightenment. He offered something the church refused, answers about the nature of the soul, about the stars and their influence, about the gods before the one God, about the powers that lie sleeping beneath creation, and those who rule it still. And because of this, Astaroth endured, not just as a monster in demonic pantheons, but as a guardian of truths long buried, truths too sharp for the hands of the righteous, too heavy for the minds of the obedient. Angel, demon, or deceiver, the fragmented identity of Astaroth. The most unsettling thing about Astaroth is this: he doesn't fit neatly into any box. Is he a demon, an angel, a god, a trickster? In the Testament of Solomon, a figure named Astaroth is said to be an angel who helps the biblical King Solomon bind spirits. Some believe this is Astaroth under a different name. Others say Astaroth is the angelic counterpart, or original form, of the demon we now know. Then there's the theory of Astaroth, an archangel who fell from grace, his name warped into Astaroth. His fall, possibly a metaphor for how ancient deities were cast out by monotheistic traditions and repackaged as evil. The 16th century demonologist Sebastian Michaelis classified Astaroth not as a demon of rage or blood, but of sloth and despair. He tempts not with action, but inaction. Doubt. He makes you second-guess yourself. Never begin your work, never chase your dreams. To be possessed by Astaroth is not to scream in madness, but to do nothing at all. He paralyzes the soul with the heaviest of burdens, uncertainty. Some say he still prefers to be called Astarte, and that rituals invoking him under his demon name fail, unless you acknowledge his goddess origins. This fuels the theory that Astaroth may not see himself as evil at all, that perhaps he views himself as divine, misunderstood, even righteous. The deception theory, Astaroth as cultural erasure. And now we reach the most provocative theory of all, one that many historians and occultists whisper but few dare declare aloud. What if Astaroth was never a demon at all? What if Astaroth was created not by God or devil, but by man, as a weapon of cultural warfare? As monotheistic religions swept across the Near East, they didn't just convert people, they rewrote the stories. Gods and goddesses of rival cultures were reframed as monsters. Astarte, proud, sexual, powerful, was incompatible with the new order. So she was demonized. Her symbols were flipped, her powers turned to poison, her temples forgotten, her name remembered only in curses and conjurations. Thus, Astaroth may be nothing more than a deliberate inversion, a shadow of a goddess that once brought life and power to millions. But here's the twist. Despite centuries of suppression, he survived. His name endured, in spells, in books, in dreams. He became something in between, not fully God, not fully demon. He became a mirror, a reflection of our fears about ambition, knowledge, and divine power. And in that mirror, we see not just him, but ourselves. Who is Astaroth really? So we ask again, who is Astaroth? A goddess buried under centuries of slander, a fallen angel clutching to lost purpose, a demon whispering truths with a price, a ghost of ancient power refusing to fade. He is ambition, he is fear, he is knowledge with a serpent's sting. He may offer prophecy or poison. But above all, Astaroth reminds us that history is never neutral. It is written by those who conquer, and they decide which gods become demons and which demons become legends.